Walmart sells a gallon of milk for barely more than it pays for it. On paper, that sounds like a terrible business. So how does a company built on razor-thin prices bring in over $680 billion a year? The answer isn't in the grocery aisle at all. It's in 5 other businesses hiding inside every Walmart store, and most shoppers walk past all of them without noticing. Most people assume Walmart makes money the obvious way. Sell a huge volume of stuff even at low prices and the profit adds up. And that's partly true. Walmart is the largest retailer on earth. Over 4,600 stores in the US alone, and more than 11,000 worldwide. But here's what most people miss. Selling a lot of something doesn't automatically mean making a lot from it. In Walmart's US stores, gross profit, the money left after paying for the actual products, sits at roughly 27 to 28 cents of every sales dollar. After paying wages, rent, utilities, and logistics, what's actually left over as operating profit is closer to 5 cents on the dollar. That's not a rounding error. That's the whole story of why Walmart needed more than groceries. Strip it down to the basics. A customer walks in, buys a product, Walmart collects revenue. Subtract what Walmart paid its suppliers and you get gross profit. Subtract labor, real estate, transportation, and marketing, and you get operating profit. That's the core retail loop, and on food and staples, it's brutally thin by design. Walmart competes on price, so it can't mark groceries up much without losing customers to the store down the street. But here's where it gets interesting. Walmart isn't just running one business inside those buildings. It's running 5. Stream 1, core retail. This is still the giant hundreds of billions in yearly sales across general merchandise, groceries, and Sam's Club. It's the traffic generator. Stream 2, membership income. Sam's Club, Walmart's warehouse club chain, charges an annual fee just to shop there. On roughly $90 billion a year in Sam's Club sales, membership fees are a small slice, but they arrive at close to pure profit because there's no cost of goods attached to a membership card. Stream 3, e-commerce and Walmart. Online sales have grown into one of Walmart's fastest expanding pieces, now representing well over 1/5 of total sales, fueled by pickup, delivery, and a paid membership that bundles free shipping the same way a certain other retailer does. Stream 4, the marketplace. Walmart now lets outside sellers list products on Walmart.com, the same playbook Amazon used to build an empire. Walmart takes a cut of every sale, no inventory risk, no warehouse cost, pure fee income. Stream 5, advertising. And this is where most people miss the real business. Walmart Connect, Walmart's in-house ad network, lets brands pay to appear at the top of search results, on in-store screens, even over Walmart radio. In its most recent fiscal year, this single business generated around $6.4 billion, growing nearly 50% year over year. That's a rough example of the scale, but the direction is unmistakable. The fastest growing piece of Walmart isn't selling more milk. It's selling attention. But revenue isn't profit. And this is the part nobody sees. Labor. Walmart employs well over 1 million people in the US alone. Wages, benefits, and scheduling costs that scale with every open register. Real estate and utilities. Thousands of massive buildings, lit, heated, and stocked around the clock. Logistics, trucks, fuel, warehouses, and a supply chain that has to move goods from factory floor to shelf without ever running empty. Shrinkage, theft, and inventory loss quietly eat into margin on every single item sold. Markdowns, unsold seasonal stock, spoiled produce, discontinued products. All of it gets written down. Marketing and technology, building apps, running the website, keeping self-checkout screens online. None of it is free. Add it up, and you understand why that 27-cent gross margin shrinks down to roughly a nickel of real operating profit by the time it survives the gauntlet. Let's do the math with a rough, Illustrative example based on Walmart's real disclosed numbers. In its U.S. business alone, Walmart generates over $450 billion in annual sales. Gross profit, sales minus cost of goods, lands around 27% of that. Operating expenses, mostly labor and real estate, eat up about 23% of sales. What's left as operating profit? Roughly 5%. 5% on $450 billion is still tens of billions of dollars. That's the paradox of Walmart. The margin is thin, but the base is enormous. Scale turns a small percentage into a massive number. Now watch what happens when the company scales its higher margin businesses instead of just its stores. Here's what successful companies understand that ordinary shoppers don't. It's not about maximizing profit on every item. It's about using the low-margin core business as bait to build something with much better economics on top of it. Every person who walks in for cheap milk is also a potential Walmart subscriber, a potential marketplace customer, and every time they scroll a search result, an audience for an advertiser who just paid Walmart for that placement. The traffic is the asset. The store is basically free real estate for higher margin businesses to be layered on top of. The same way a mall makes more money from the food court and parking than it does from any single retail lease. Advertising and membership income now make up a share of operating income far bigger than their share of total revenue. Walmart's own finance chief has said advertising and membership together account for roughly a third of quarterly operating profit, despite being a tiny fraction of total sales. That's the real advantage. Low margin volume funds the traffic, high margin services capture the profit. But this model isn't risk-free. Retail margins can compress further if competitors like Amazon, Costco, or discount grocers undercut on price. The advertising business depends on retail traffic staying high. If shoppers move online faster than Walmart's own e-commerce can capture them, that ad inventory shrinks. And a downturn hits low-income shoppers hardest, and Walmart's core customer base skews toward exactly that group. So a recession can squeeze both units sold and the willingness to spend on discretionary items. So where does the money actually come from? Not from the milk. Not really from any single item on the shelf. It comes from turning a razor-thin retail business into the biggest traffic funnel in American retail, then monetizing that traffic 5 different ways. Memberships, marketplace fees, advertising, financial products, and almost as an afterthought, the groceries themselves. The empire isn't built on cheap prices. It's built on what cheap prices bring through the door. If you want more simple breakdowns of how the world's biggest businesses actually make money, subscribe to Money Axis.